Hey, how's it going? All right, Bernie De La Rianda. He really gave it the best he could, but he had no facts. He was hired by that woman, Corey, and she was insistent, and she still is. She called George a murderer after he was found not guilty. You know, I don't know. That may have some legal ramifications. I believe there are some laws that protect people from being uh, especially this is a state prosecutor, so when she says something like that, it's it's very inflammatory for her to use those kind of words. But beyond that, she's saying he's a murderer when he's not. And as a state official, in the capacity of a state official on national television, I would say that is a crime. I would say that she is putting George in further jeopardy beyond what he's already gone through. Thank God for a good defense. If it wasn't for Don West and his leader, it could have been that George would have lost this case, because we know that the prosecution used every trick in the book. They held back on all the exculpatory evidence. And there were at least 6 situations where the defense had to file uh, hearings to request information. And not only did they not get the information afterwards, but then some of the information had to leak to George and his team through somebody who was working for the prosecutor, because he didn't want to get held responsible. They're hiding information that belongs to the defense. The prosecution was hiding information, and it's illegal. People say, "Oh, well, that's part of the game." No, it's not. It's illegal. They're looking at some serious stuff. I would say that Corey very likely is not going to be working in the legal system for a lot longer. And I thought it was interesting that they used this guy to come out. They bring him out and parade him in front of these women and all the people on CNN and NBC, and I mean on MSNBC. And we're saying how he's a good-looking guy, and these women will be swayed by him. And these are the liberals, and it just blows my mind. How couldn't they say that women will be swayed by the looks of the man rather than the facts of the case? It's just so demeaning to women. I'm sorry. I just think that the left side, is as well-meaning as they are very demeaning to women. That's my personal belief. And of course, we can't forget Ben Crump. He's Trayvon Martin's family lawyer. And remember, before he came around, Trayvon Martin's dad, Tracy Martin, didn't recognize his son's voice on the tape, on the 911 tape that was George screaming. And they asked him. So there was more than one person that heard him say, "No, that's not my son." But then when Crump comes around, suddenly everybody's from his side is saying, "Oh yeah, 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 that's my son." So, there's a whole lot of other things that Crump has coming his way. I mean, he was leading the witness. He made that recording, that terrible recording of Rachel, Dee Dee, Diamond, and that particular recording is going to come back to haunt him, and a lot of issues around it. He did some things that were outside the bounds of legal. Well, you got to remember, he's a lawyer, so he has to follow the law. The first thing they'll do is disbar him if he broke the law. They'll just, take away his license to practice. If he did some things that went farther, he could do some time in jail. And that goes for all these people, the prosecutors. I know that they're warming up for a prosecution against these people. There's no doubt about it. It was a malicious prosecution. There's no doubt. So there's more than one prosecutor that's been brought down in this kind of situation. So, and you can see George went through a lot. This is him more than a year ago when he's going through the hearing, and they're trying to take away everything that he has and everything that he is. And all he's trying to do is show that he was acting in self-defense. Now he's been exonerated, but the media and the government do not want to give him his due. Oh, no, we still might do this and that. You know, if the president wanted to really slow down the racial tensions, he would say, listen, people, this is our legal system. This is how it works. You can either play by the legal system or you can stay in our legal system. You pick. So if you want to come out here and riot, we'll lock you up. You know, that's what he should have said. Don't come out and riot because we'll lock you up. We're not going to put up with it. But he didn't do that. He just stirs it even more. I'm not going to talk about that right now. We'll go on about that later. I just wanted to say, here's a picture of Trayvon next to, I believe that's a teacher at school. And you can see that he's not a little guy. I mean, look at the size of his neck. Look at his shoulders. Look at his chest looking from the side. This guy's a big guy. You know, he's just about full grown. He's not going to get a whole lot bigger. I mean, he'll get a little heavier, or he would have gotten quite a bit heavier, but he's not going to get much taller in height. That guy's at that size. And we know from what we learned in the case, it didn't come through the trial, but we learned earlier on that he had some experience in MMA, and you can see the work that he did on George. And if he were alive today, I'd say, hey, man, you did a pretty good job. Knocked his ass around a little bit. What he should have done, though, as a good MMA fighter, is when somebody's tapping, you got to let go. That's MMA. MMA has rules. And, you know, if Trayvon would have said, look, I'm going to whip your ass MMA style. I don't have any weapons. You know, but if he starts banging somebody's head on the concrete, that's not MMA. We don't allow, you know, on MMA fighting, you're not even allowed to punch somebody in the back of the head because it's such a tender location. It's not protected. It's not a place that's meant to take damage. Okay, your face, the front of your face is much more able, the forehead, but not the back. And if you hit somebody in the back of the head in MMA fighting, you can be disqualified. You will certainly lose points. And you can see the kind of damage that happened to the back of his head. And I liked, there was the medical expert that was on talking about the gunshot wounds. The older guy was on TV last night, and he was saying some of the people there were saying, oh, those were little scratches. And he said, well, how many of us have fallen and hit our head really hard, so hard that it almost knocks us out and gives us a daze, and we feel around and there's no blood, no damage to the skin, yet the inside of our head feels like we're about ready to die. It's very serious. And that's what he was trying to say. For it to break the skin, it's huge. It's serious injury. And here's a picture of Trayvon, and you know, I just wanted to say, he's a 17-year-old kid, so I hope no one is thinking that I have anything bad to say about this. You know, I don't like this. I don't want to see this. But I hope that the black leaders use this as a lesson to young males. Doesn't have to be black, white, Hispanics, anybody. If you come into a situation where somebody's questioning your rights, don't get violent. Don't get violent at all. Never get violent. The only time somebody should ever get violent is when they're fighting for their life. So that would be it. And this would be the lesson I would tell children. Anyway, that was about all. Good talking to you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.